Hi everyone, my name is Omnom, and your dance comp mix sucks. Just like furries in general, a lot of dance comp mixes and music in general stinks. And today we're going to figure out how to give your dance comp mix the virtual deodorant that it so desires, and make your dance comp mix on par with your dancing. So let's get started and let's have a little bit of fun tonight. And I also want to preface that tonight's live stream is to help me buy a new keyboard because old baby here lost a key. So donations are absolutely welcome and accepted and thankful. The donations themselves aren't thankful, but I probably am. And yeah, welcome to the live stream. So let's jump on in today, and I'm going to switch screens here and show you guys what we got going on. In front of me here right now, I have got a dance comp mix for somebody, and this is something that I didn't make, and it could be your dance comp mix. It could not be your dance comp mix, but it has a lot of problems. We'll go ahead and play it to get started here. Sit tight for me for just a second. Here we go. So, that's a good start, but it kind of sounds like crap, doesn't it? I think that there's a lot that we could do to this to make it better. You know, just things that I'm noticing right off the bat are that it kind of sounds like a whole bunch of farts. The audio levels are different and the transition isn't smooth. You know, I really think that we could definitely improve on that. So what I'm going to do for you today, let me pull up ye old listy here, is we're going to talk about song choice. What songs to pick, what songs not to pick, how to blend those songs together. We're going to talk about finding the beat, and we're going to talk about some compression to squeeze those farts together so that they sound a little bit more appealing to your ear. We're going to talk about limiters, and we're going to talk about mastering, how to make your farts sound real good. That way they don't just sound like a lot of exploded turds like this. Tasty. So let's go ahead and switch over to our normal window here, or to my mix actually that I've pulled together, and I found two songs that I think work relatively well with each other, and I'm going to talk about how I came to that decision. But Skrillex and Wolfgang Gardner, The Devil's Den, and Beep Beep, I'm a Sheep remix by The Living Tombstone. It's one of my favorite meme tracks, also very danceable, I think. But I want to clarify, I'm not a dancer. I can't dance, but I do know good dancing when I see it. And I also know that a music drives people's emotions. As a musician and as a producer myself, music drives the feels, right? If your music sucks, your dance comp mix is gonna suck, and people are gonna be more focused on the loud, obliterating, clipping turds coming through the speakers than your awesome flailing moves, right? So, to get started here, there's a thing that you need to keep in mind when picking a dance comp mix of songs, something you want to put together. And one of them is the very first and most important thing is the BPM of your track, or the beats per minute of your track. If you're trying to take a song that has 128 beats per minute, which sounds something like, with a song that has 160 beats per minute, which sounds like, it's going to be really hard to blend the two of them together. We already got a donation. Let's see what it is, folks. Sorry, give me just a sec. I may be interrupting this and more stuff here. Bark. Hello? Hello? Go back, please. Let's see. Somebody donated $20, but it won't let me see who it is just yet. Ah, Tasty. Haha, candy. Yes, very much so. I love those sweet farts in the mix. So what we take and do is we take our song that we want to listen to, and then even if you don't have access to all this fancy software, which I do want to point out, you don't need all of this to make a good dance comp mix. Everything that I'm going to be doing today can be done just on a laptop with GarageBand, Fruity Loops or FL Studio, Ableton Live, Logic Pro, even sometimes done inside of your video editors if you're a video editor. But what we need to do is find out the BPM of our song. So I'm going to show you guys a thing here. This is really useful. It's going to come right on the screen here. You know what? But I need to start this first. So we're going to hear the music. And what I'm going to do on this is I'm just going to tap right here where it says touch screen to click here. And I'm just going to tap with my keyboard. And I'm going to tap my keyboard to as fast as I think that the song is. So what we're going to do is we're going to start our song, then I'm going to tap with the beat, just like you'd nod your head. So let's start it. All right, here we go. Here we go. Let's pull this up. Touch screen. So it looks like the BPM of that song is around 124 beats per minute. And as you'll notice here in my sweet sensual software, I have 124 BPM already plugged in because I took the liberty of before this track going in and warping it. Now, it winds out that the song speeds up and slows down a little bit, so it was a little closer to 128. But Beep Beep, I'm a Sheep actually did wind out being exactly 124. So in my fancy software, I can warp the tracks a little bit to make them closer to each other. But what having the BPM dialed in lets you do is it lets you zoom in here and see the little hits of the songs. So if we see right here, there's little peaks in our tracks. And those should be pretty close to, if not right on, our track. So if we put a click track to this, let's see what happens. We're going to turn this on. Yeah, wowzers. Look at that. Each one of those peaks lands kind of right on one of those things. And that's really important. Oh, we got another donation. Hold on. Take my money. Get yourself that keyboard. Make the music. Thank you, Manud. My dude, that's Mika, one of my admins. She's a sweetheart. So let's listen to Beep Beep, I'm a Sheep real quick. This was 128 beats per minute, but I changed it to make it a little bit, you know, flow a little bit better, so my copy and pasting can be pretty much right on. So here we go. Oh no, it's actually off. So let's see here. We can look at our peaks here and see that this is off and this is off. So what I'm going to do is just drag this until it's a little closer to what I'm looking for. And I think it may have been around 126. Yeah, that looks better. Now we can see that our little sound wave here is right on. Let's see what it does. Much better. That's right on the click. So now we've got both of our tracks right on the click, and we can already tell by looking at the wavelengths that they're a little bit different in volume, so we'll have to fix that so they don't sound like a bunch of compressed farts. So what we're going to talk about next when making your sweet, sweet dance mix is song choice. So now that you've got a whole bunch of songs, that you want to get 5 or 6 of these together that are in the same BPM range, is you want to find ones that flow together, that have nice transition points, where there's a big whoosh sound, or one of them has high intensity moments where the song really builds up and makes you feel like it's going to drop that bass all over your farty music. It's great. Or where it slows down and gets nice and sensual, makes you feel like it should take you out to a fancy dinner at the Olive Garden, right? We want to get things like that. Beep Beep I'm a Sheep has some of those, and so does this Skrillex song for me. So find a couple of them that have the same feel. Because just because they don't, or they have the same tempo, doesn't mean they're going to have the same feel, right? So, Sheep, Sheep, I'm a Beep. Absolutely. So what we're going to do next is we're going to try and find a good place to copy and edit them and cut them and whatnot. Now, I've taken the liberty of doing this already so that you guys didn't have to sit through there, and I found my first transition point. And I'm going to show you guys it. So give me just a second here, okay? So I'm going to duplicate this track, and I'm going to delete the first half of this and the second half of that one, just so that I've got duplicates and I don't erase the entire thing. So let's get that, and then we're going to duplicate this track. We're going to turn that one offline. Don't worry about all this stuff. If you don't have this fancy dancy software, it's not something you really need to have. And you guys can just delete the parts that you don't want. But for me, I'm a perfectionist. I like to keep things where they should go. So I don't need this one. I do need that one. I accidentally took the wrong one out. But let's listen to our first Skrillex and Wolfgang Gartner song here. And we're just going to listen to the latter end of this thing because we want to see where it sounds like it wants to fade out, which I already found, like I said. So here, let's give it a gander. Not too bad, huh? Yeah, that's nice. I like that a lot. Now let's listen to our Beep Beep I'm a Sheep song all the way through, and I just want to show you right here at the end where I found a good transition point that I thought would work for that. Lesbian Lemonade, yep. So what I've found is that this little part right here sounds like a pretty good place to blend the two together. That's a term that we called blending, where I come from, where you take one track and you made it fade out, and then you put it into another track and make that one fade in. It's really easy to do when you're doing full-on 2 songs put together. You just find a place where one fades out or cuts really hard, or you find a place where one fades out and another fades in, and then you put those two together. So right here. Yeah. That sounds pretty good. Now let's hear those two on top of each other and just see what it sounds like, shall we? So that kind of works, wowzers, right? But in reality, they're really kind of hard and they conflict with each other a little bit. So what we kind of want to do is maybe take and fade one in, the one that's coming into the song, and fade the other one out, the one that's going out of the song, right? So we're going to do something like this. I'm going to start this fade right here where this one starts, and I'm going to start this one kind of halfway through because I want it to be at maximum volume right here. So let's hear what that sounds like, shall we? Wowzers, that sounded good, didn't it, you guys? That sounded pretty great. Now what we've done is we've taken two songs and we put them together pretty seamlessly. Now that's a good start, but we need a little bit of we need to shave a little bit of this bad boy off, don't we? Because it's a little too long for a dance comp mix. Down here we can see that we've got our timeline here, and most dance comps start, or their ending time and their maximum time is about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So why don't we listen to Skrillex and Wolfgang Gartner here and see if we can't find a place to just cut some of this out. Sorry, I burped. I've got a mosquito attacking me. So let's give this a gander. It's a good way to start, I think, right? Well, that just repeats the same thing a little bit, so maybe we can cut that out. So right here is really the change in the song. A lot of this just repeats itself. So why don't we cut some of that out and move it up and see if we can't shorten up our song a bit. And it starts right on a hit, which is going to be very hard for a dancer to pick up on. So we'll address that here in a little bit. Moz. Well, that's the same thing. We got 4 bars here with a little transition. So we may want this transition. So let's listen to that. Yeah. So that's not necessary. Watch what happens if we cut the last bar of this and just mix it with that. Let's see how those blend together, shall we? Because you always want to keep your transitions. Ah, and then it goes right into the next part. So we already cut some time out. And it repeats right there again. There's the transition. So what we're going to do, since we kept the last bar of that one, is we're going to cut the last bar out of this one. And we're just going to cinch them all together real nice, like. And watch, we've already got a big chunk of this taken out. So let's move this all over here. And then let's move our little guy over here. And now we've got something real nice, I think. Real nice looking. All right, let's listen to that first half and then see how much more of this we can gut. So far, so good. Okay, there we go. So that repeats twice, I'm guessing. Yep, and then it repeats the same thing again. So in reality, we could probably pull just all of that out, because the interesting part starts right there. So why don't we move this whole thing up and just go from where we were at? Because not much is happening, right? There we go. You never know it wasn't there. Cool. Wowzers. Look at that. And now we have some actual danceable music. Good. There's a restart. Just a little bit different. And another part, so we can in reality cut that out. So in reality, we should be able to cut almost all of that out and keep the cool dancey part. Let's listen to how that sounds. I may have screwed it up. Ooh. So what I did is I cut it a little too long. Let's try that again. Alright, so I totally screwed that up. Wowzers, not surprising. So let's just try cutting this little piece out here that we did, and then move this whole thing over and see what happens. Right. Ah, there we go. That sounds a lot better, doesn't it? It's these 4 bars. Alright, let's try something a little different here to try and skinny this bad boy up just a little bit more. Let's see what this sounds like. So far, so good. Ah, there we go. Now we found it, right? Looking pretty good. So we've skinnied up our track quite a significant amount. And now if we cut the time from the beginning, we can find out that that section, which we could probably skinny up a little more if we really wanted to, is just a little bit over a minute, which is perfect. Because we want to have a beginning song, we want to have a middle song, and then we maybe want to go back to the first song at the end. And that'll take up somewhere around 2 to 2.5 minutes. So it turns out pretty well when we try to do this. Oh, hi, Kiwi. So wowzers, now we've taken our song that sounds like a whole bunch of obliterated farts, and we've turned it into some sort of compilation. So why don't we listen to this from the beginning through the transition to Beep Beep by Masheep, and then find a good part to get out of Beep Beep by Masheep, and come back into this and reference our beginning sound. How's that? Wowzers, I love it. Alright, here we go. I'm gonna crank it on my end. Holy mackerel, did you guys hear that transition? With no effects and no EQing and no nothing, we've already got ourselves a mix. I think right there that's good. Something that a lot of new producers or a lot of people making their first dance comp forget is that you don't have to take one song, take the whole first half of it, cut it in half, and then put it into the second song. You can actually take a song like we did with this Skrillex one and gut 6 or 7 pieces out of it to make it as short as you want. The nice thing about songs is they normally stay pretty well in time with each other. So we've got our Beep Beep Like a Sheep, we've got our Devil up top here. Now let's figure out where we want to cut our Beep Beep Like a Sheep out, and then we're going to talk about EQing, compression, and limiters and mastering on how to make your songs sound like similar compressed pieces of garbage. Because everybody knows that if you rip something off of YouTube, which most of you guys will do, is that they nuke the quality of it. So you got to put that quality back in, or at least polish that turd up a little bit so it sounds a lot more like the turd you had before, but shinier. Because remember, just like furries, a lot of dance comp mixes are turd, and you can polish them up all day, but there's still a turd underneath all of the polish. So let's see what we can do. All right? Sounds good. Okay. Let's listen to Beep Beep Like a Sheep and find a good part to come out of it.
You know how to beep blood.
So I like right there where it's got the yeah, so. I think that could really work for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a cut right here in my original edit to know that that's where I'm separating the track in case I need to go back to it. So if we have the yeah, so, why don't we go back down to our Skrillex track here and see what we can find. Oh, look, somehow, conveniently enough, it starts right back up where that cut is. Ah, see, now there we have a really good sounding drop. So I think we can use that to our advantage to maybe end out our song here a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this little section here and we're going to put it right up there where the other one was. And let's see how those two sound when they come together, because I don't know if it's going to work, but let's just see what happens.
Yeah, so.
Now let's pull this up, and then we're just going to try to find the yeah in the beep beep like a sheep, and here where that ends. So there's where the so starts. I can tell by the waveform, so I'm going to fade this out. Just give ourselves a nice yeah. And let's see. I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll find out. So what we've done here is a classical error that a lot of dance comp mix people do, is they take something that's pretty good in nature and sounds good, and it's the same BPM, but those two pieces just don't work together because you've got two high tempo pieces going together, and then you got a low tempo one coming right after that. And so even though the BPM is the same, the feel is different. So let's see if we can find a part of this song that has the same feel as our other one, but is also still the same BPM. Let's see what we can do. So that part's still slow. Let's look at our next part down here and see what we can find. So that's the second half of the song. Now, what we could do if we really wanted to is we could use the first half of the song again and just put it there, but I'm not a big fan of that. So what we may try to do is try to use this part and then use the cool little transition that they have already built into the song so we don't have to make one, right? So let's take this turd and use its own transition as it comes out of the colon. Let's see what we can do here. Hold on just a second. All right, so we got doo-doo-boo-doo-boo-boo devil. So let's see if we got... So where's our beep beep like a sheep? Because those two sound like they're on. So we've got... Alright, so we got beep beep like a sheep. So let's fade this out, fade this in, and see what we get together here. Oop, hold on, I think I messed up. Ooh, hold on, let's see. Now there's too much of a fade, so let's pull that back here just a little bit and see what we get. There we go, we're getting somewhere. So what I would probably do after this is spend the next 6 or 7 hours beating myself up over the turd that I'm trying to polish and make that transition sound real nice and just find a good ending point to cut it off at and add some effects. But what we need to jump onto on this stream is we need to talk about the fact that these two turds are low quality. They came from YouTube, and we need to find a way to make them sound a little bit better and sound like they're the same song even though they're not. But at least to your ears, you shouldn't be able to hear a difference between the two. So let's see what we can do to polish these turds. How's that sound to you guys? Yeah, I like that. Okay, so let's close this little guy up here, and we're going to go to our master chain. Now, like I said, if you're using Ableton Live, Logic, Fruity Loops, or even just GarageBand on your Mac that you stole from somebody at Starbucks off of the table, that's totally fine. It'll be all right. You still have access to a lot of the stuff that we're going to use today. The very first thing that we want to do is we want to add some compression, limiters, and EQs. So I already have a pre-built thing for this, so instead of building it on the fly, I'm just going to walk you guys through everything that's in here. This is my full chain master that I like to use to make songs all sound the same. So if we open this up, ignoring this left part, we've got an EQ with some of the lows boosted and some of the highs boosted here to just give it that oomph, that, you know, like the dirty brown noise wet fart that you make sometimes after you've eaten Chipotle. Oh, and that high tinny noise that really makes your ears ring. We like that in music. Then we've got ourselves a little bit of a compressor here. What a compressor does is it takes those loud farts and those silent farts that you have from ripping your audio off of YouTube because we're all too cheap to buy tracks, am I right? Haha, yeah, totally. So what we do is we take those farts and we compress them to make your loud farts and your quiet farts just a little closer to each other so you can hear the quiet farts and the loud ones don't blow up your speakers. That's what we're trying to do here. And then we've got over here on the left, I'm going to go ahead and delete the overdrive because we don't need that or the utility. We've got a limiter here. This limiter over here on the left that I'll scroll over and let you guys see a little better here is this guy right here. Let me make sure you can see it. Yeah, you can. You can totally see that. So the limiter takes it and it makes all of the audio not go above 0 decibels so it doesn't clip and doesn't make it sound like distorted farts. Kind of like you took a guitar amp, plugged it into your butt, and then farted through it and made that sound just like your old Black Sabbath songs you guys like, right? Those sounded like farts too. So what we're doing is we're moving on here. And we're going to turn this on and just see what we can do to make it sound a little bit better using our fart polisher, right? So let's go ahead and go over here and take a look. All right, I'm going to play my Skrillex into Wolfgang here and our Wolfgang into our sheep. So. Already hearing different. That's cool. I like it. Let's raise this up a little bit. There we go. Okay, this is sounding pretty good so far. I really like this. Okay, this is great. So what I've done is I've pulled the overall track volume back a little bit so it's not killing the EQ, and now I'm taking all of them together and blending them to make them all have the same volume and taking those loud farts and those silent farts and making those sound a little closer to each other. So let's listen again. I like this. So compressors work in interesting ways. If you don't know how a compressor works, let's walk you through that real quick, and then we'll A and B it afterwards. So I'm going to take one of my audio effects here, and I'm going to type in compressor. So if you've used Fruity Loops or anything like that, what you do when you have a compressor is you take a look here, and you want to have a nice ratio. So this is for every 2 decibels, it's going to pull one out. So every 2 decibels over, it's going to pull one out. How fast it goes in, so how quick it is to react, which is 2 milliseconds right now, and how long it takes to release it after it's already pulled the volume out. So we've got 50 milliseconds here, we've got 2 milliseconds on the attack, and we've got a 2-to-1 ratio, which is really not bad. And then right here on this side, this out is how much we're compensating for what we pulled. So let's see here. We're going to take a listen to our Skrillex song, which is really loud and farty sounding right now. So let's take our threshold. So as you can see here, it was in the yellow. Now let me show you guys what happens when somebody doesn't use a compressor and takes a really bad song. So it sounds like a really big distorted fart. And that's what people do a lot of times when they try to use a compressor and don't know how. Now, everything's going to sound a little bit like a fart in dubstep, but we really want to try and keep those farts to sound at least like the other farts. That way, people don't know that you're taking a fart from the girl next door and a fart from yourself and trying to turn them into music. You want to keep it kind of secret. So let's try that again and just see what happens. Okay, wowzers. So all I'm doing is pulling this knob down right here, this little slider that's right here. I'm pulling it down until that's no longer in the yellow. There we go. Now we can see that there's a little bit of gain reduction, so the loud stuff is coming down to be a little bit on the same page as the quiet stuff. And then we've got our out volume that it's compensating that as well. So we've got one of these that's actually going through both songs right now on our master chain. So we would take this and do it on the other one if we weren't a complete lazy sack of crap like I am. But I am lazy, and it's just a YouTube video. So let's go down here back to our thing. And I'm going to play these two songs together without it, and then I'm going to play them with it, and I want you guys to hear the difference, okay? So here we go. Let's play it. Oops. All right. Now I can hear that those are two very different songs on the way that they're mixed, so we're trying to equalize them out. So let's turn our master on, which includes our limiter. And the only thing the limiter does is it takes it and makes it not go over 0 decibels. It's really awesome. And then the compressor that squeezes our farts. And then the EQ that brings the high-pitched parts of our farts out and the low-pitched parts of our farts out and pulls some of that YouTube dequalitization out of your video and out of your song. So let's hear. Oh, wow. Yeah. That sounds a lot better. So there we have it. Now, let's talk about the last thing that we need to bring up here, is that we need to take and we need to figure out an ending point for our song and a starting point for our song. We no longer need these tracks, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those pieces of garbage right there because I don't really like them. So let's take a look and go back to this. You know what? On second thought, I'm going to bring my beep beep like a sheep back out of here because I think maybe ending it with beep beep like a sheep could be cool. So let's listen down here. So it doesn't end with the beep beep like a sheep, but what we could maybe do is take our little beep beep like a sheep right here and throw it at the end. So So if we take our beep beep like a sheep, because maybe there's one down here, so let's find out.
Yeah. So, you know how to beep beep like a sheep?
Let's see if we can find one. Wow. We need to find one that has a whole beat.
But, is that all?
So there's no full-on beep beep like a sheep. So what we could maybe do is put our ending song and just put it underneath it. So let's take this little last section right here, and we're just going to scoot it right on up on top of this, right to the point where I think it's going to end. And let's just
Know how to beep beep like.
let's see what happens. we go. That's a decent ending to our song. So let's take this little guy right here, and we're gonna expand him on. Let's just see what this sounds like together. Oh, hold on. So let's.
So.
There we go. And then what we could maybe do if we really wanted to get crazy with it is use one of those crazy EQs that we've talked about and just bring out the beep beep like a sheep. What do you guys think? So let's take our EQ here, take an EQ 8. I'm just going to loop this beep beep like a sheep second or thing here. And let's pull it back to without the yeah, because I don't think I really like the yeah. So, all right. All right, let's pull this fade out and just get rid of the yeah. We may need just this little section. Let's. Now we could probably fade out the yeah, and then just having a little bit of the beep beep like underneath it may be kind of neat. So let's pull that out. Now pulling out a lot of the lows on this may sound weird when you're doing it just by itself, but if we take this and we combine it with that, let's see what we get. Okay, hold on. There we go. Wowzers, did you guys hear that? That sounded great. So here at the end, we go into our thing. Let's see. There we have it, y'all. And then we end the song here and we're right at 2 minutes and 15 seconds is where we're sitting. And that would be your dance comp mix. So let's take this and give it a little bit of a listen back. And then if we really needed to, if the dance comp said it had to be under 2 minutes, we could probably cut a few more things out of the intro. But let's listen to this from beginning to end 1 second. Had to EQ that one a little bit. There we go. And we have a quick 45-minute done dance comp mix. Now, typically speaking, I want to point out that the mixes that I would make would be a lot more thorough than this, and I'd spend a lot more time picking and choosing the parts instead of just cutting out random things and adding them. We can also get into stuff where we add our own custom effects to them. You know, I've got quite a few in here of my own mixes, my own samples, and a lot of other things that we've got that we could add as far as uplifters go and build-ups and, you know, different samples and things. Like, let me show you one here. This is from the Vengeance pack here, but we've got downlifters, got impacts, short effects, and things that you can build in your own synthesizer software if you'd really like to use it. Oh, we got a new donation. Let's take a look. See here. Thank you very much. Let's see. For your new keyboard, it was awesome seeing you in Splat at ACFI. Sorry if I was awkward at the time. Isolation from friends does things. I understand, Joe. It wasn't awkward at all. And thank you very much for the donation. You've been the top donator to the channel, I think, overall, period. And I really appreciate that. And, yeah, you guys, so there's a lot of stuff you can add in the beginning and end, and your own drum samples. You know, on the songs that I build all custom drums and synthesizer things, and there's a lot of different plugins you can do. You know, so if we wanted to take just a quick one for a second and add it in just to show you the crazy things you can do with plugins, let's take our Glitch 2 here and throw it on the end of just this little sample. So we have our beep beep like a sheep here at the end. If we play it, let's just play it from here. Let's turn this on real quick. There's all sorts of weird things you can do just to give it a little bit of life to your mixes and make them stand out from all the other people that have just taken two farts and mixed them together to make a gigafart. We really don't want that. So thank you guys very much for sitting with me here tonight, and I really appreciate all the donations. They're going to go directly to the new keyboard I'm trying to buy, which is around $600. And if you guys ever have any tips, tricks that you need to hear, or you want to follow up to this on getting a little bit more in depth on how to EQ things and how to make things sound closer to each other, you guys will notice I EQ'd beep beep like a sheep through here. I can do a version or a part 2 of this, and I'd be glad to do that. And yeah, guys, it's been real. It's been great. Hasn't been real great. So until next time, my name is Omnom, and your dance comp mix sucks. Please commission me for one. I need money. Have a great day.